Trips down memory lane are often fun, but when it comes to Call of Duty, we're surprisingly close to the end of that lane. Here up on the channel, we've been taking retrospective looks at the modern era of Call of Duty titles from Modern Warfare all the way up until last week's Infinite Warfare in 2018. We've done it all, except for the one final piece of the puzzle. Modern Warfare Remastered, a game which I'm sure can spark a discussion for either fan love or disdain. While gearing up for the launch of Black Ops 4 in just under 2 weeks' time, we've got limited time left to take one final glimpse at the last COD game we've yet to tackle. So let's do just that. Here's what Modern Warfare Remastered is like in 2018. From the beginning, Modern Warfare Remastered was wanted for ages. If you've been around the community long enough, you may even recognize the long-term cries for a remaster of the beloved COD 4 to happen. But then, when it finally did, it was in a way that I guarantee not many were happy about. Modern Warfare Remastered was introduced to the world in less than ideal conditions. Coming off the reveal of the now third most disliked video in YouTube history, that being the Infinite Warfare reveal trailer, Modern Warfare Remastered was coupled with Infinite Warfare's Legacy and Legacy Pro editions of the game, effectively requiring players to buy two games in one for access to Modern Warfare Remastered. While only a $20 increase at the base level from standard Infinite Warfare to Legacy Edition, it still was less than ideal for someone who didn't really care for the idea of Infinite Warfare, that they'd have to pay the $60 for that game and then another $20 to play a game they initially wanted from the beginning. Not to mention the concerns of what it would do to the immediate player count. Considered an equalizer of sorts to make up for lost sales is what many considered it as, but regardless of intent, it shipped all the same. If you were to take a look at Modern Warfare Remastered now, you'd find some noticeable differences between Modern Warfare Remastered and the original of over a decade ago at this point. Obviously, graphically, the game is absolutely brilliant, but even down to the campaign, something that you'd think would be a stable piece had some changes here and there. Whether small aesthetic changes like the mocapping sequence being entirely redone to ensure the best possible quality in key scenes, to a brand new Easter egg that allowed you to theoretically alter the entire course of the Modern Warfare storyline, smaller adjustments had been made to single player, but with multiplayer, it's a different story. Many fans were upset when the inevitable supply drop system made its way into the game, and perhaps is still the greatest disconnect from the original. That, of course, is probably the biggest change up that you'd end up seeing from the original to where we are now in Modern Warfare Remastered. So with supply drops added, they added weapons, camos, kits, and many, many more. Surprisingly though, if you could get past the idea of Modern Warfare having supply drops and in-game loot that wasn't there in the original, the system itself was actually an improvement upon the previous year's Black Ops 3, and perhaps even better than the system in place with Infinite Warfare, save for the whole thing that new DLC weapons are given for free to Season Pass holders automatically in Infinite Warfare and can be unlocked via in-game challenges. With collections introduced for the first time, we saw that no longer were all items and supply drops placed into one giant loot pool with an equal chance of pulling whatever you want. And with the rules of probability in mind, the higher the amount there is, the less odds you actually have to get those items. Instead, the newly formed collections of Copperhead, Lion Strike, Arctic Wolf, and the limited time collections of Days of Summer and Shamrock and Awe allowed for a much more refined amount of content to pull from, each with their own supply drops and each chipping away at collections, so you had a real chance to get what you wanted. Now granted, still a chance and not a guarantee, but it was an improvement from the free-for-all that was Black Ops 3 supply drops a year earlier. Along with weapon camos came other customization options. Unlike the original Modern Warfare, you were now able to customize your operator. You could choose a face, you could custom tailor the uniform to how you saw fit, and this followed then the same model as the supply drop weapons. You had opportunities throughout multiple collections to get various custom uniforms and operators, all for different varying amounts of credits, and then also there were new things like limited time events, in which it became just a matter of if you got lucky enough to get enough of all of them in the collection, or if you ended up actually chipping away at it yourself to get those final tier rewards for collections of the limited time ones. And just bearing that in mind was something that was brand new in Modern Warfare Remastered as well. Limited time collections. We saw collections introduced in Modern Warfare Remastered, but going a step further, we also saw those sort of limited time celebration type of collections added in for, say, Days of Summer or Shamrock and Awe, where at the very end, it closed up and you wouldn't have the opportunity to end up getting those items that were those final tier rewards. Other customization options saw a ton of camos added in the way of Modern Warfare Remastered. Of course, we ended up seeing that back in the day, we had a very select number of camos available, but with Modern Warfare Remastered, took it a step further and went all out. There's a bunch of camos for each collection you could end up using outside of just the standard challenge ones, which again, even offer some new ones up in the way of camos there. Another brand new addition to Modern Warfare Remastered were weapon kits, which were pre-built cosmetic variations of weapons that sort of were acting as weapon skins or alterations that looked rather cool, but you could also kind of, once again, combine them with camos like you could with Black Ops 3 and paint jobs and make your own custom creation out of that. However, with weapon kits, they were a little more stable and unable to be customized as such, but they still were some rather cool looking ones here with this. These came again out of collections and supply drops, but were different ways that you could customize your weapons by having completely different weapon casings, different exclusive camos and patterns, and other things considered. Another massive introduction here to Modern Warfare Remastered, and also what we've now seen in World War II and what is in the game files for Black Ops 4, is weapon inspect animations. This was for the first time introduced, where if you press down on your D-pad, you can end up taking a look at your weapon and inspecting it, doing some cool little unique animation at some points, and others just really examining the weapon itself. So this was introduced and follows very similarly to how CSGO does weapon inspect animations, but looked to be just a nifty little aesthetic change up to Modern Warfare Remastered to offer a different view perspective of your weapon, but it's since caught the interest of fans and has returned in World War II and potentially even in Black Ops 4. And the final difference and change up that I think is very noteworthy is level 1000, because back in Call of Duty 4, back in 2007, you had your 10 prestiges, of course, but within Modern Warfare Remastered, you have your 10 prestiges, but then an additional few hundred levels after that if you wanted to play further. Throughout all of the main year of Modern Warfare Remastered, I don't know if I saw anyone there, but when I recently was recording the footage that you'll see in this video, lo and behold, I found someone in the 700s ranks, which is a wild amount of time to play, but still a massive disconnect again just in the basic ranking system of Modern Warfare Remastered. Personally, I didn't have it in me the past year. I would have loved to go for level 1000, sure, but having played and prestiged all the way through in the original COD 4, doing it yet again was rather tedious, so hence I never even prestiged in Modern Warfare Remastered. I just played when I felt like it, and there was no real pressure on me as such to kind of climb those ranks. But if that was something you were interested in, level 1000 was introduced for the first time in Modern Warfare Remastered, and coming off the second year in which we saw that after Black Ops 3's introduction of level 1000. Other than that, well, what are the things that are the same? Pretty much all of the gameplay is still the same. That's the nice part. Some things like the M16 were slightly adjusted during the year, but that's where the honeymoon effect might take effect, because like it or not, the M16 and other things were insanely broken back in the day as well. So when you add in better netcode and other technological feats that have compounded over the years since 2007, those errors will definitely be a lot more noticeable. Spawn points are still pretty wild and sometimes flat out dumb. TTK is possibly too fast depending on who you ask, but here's the thing. That was all within the original COD 4, and that's what made the game fun. It's what helped define COD as an arcade shooter, and if we're being entirely honest with ourselves, it's the same things we as players dealt with a decade ago, and as such, captures the pure chaotic spirit of Modern Warfare anew. One thing that is brilliant is that it's much easier to find a lobby. Now that the game is separated from Infinite Warfare, players can play only Modern Warfare Remastered if they so choose. If they held out and didn't really want to buy Infinite Warfare, they can now buy Modern Warfare separately. And with this being a remaster across all platforms for PC, Xbox One, and PS4, not just a backwards compatible item like on Xbox One, lobbies are much more populated on all platforms. Of course, Xbox One, if you go back and play the original COD 4, you might be able to find a game still, but with Modern Warfare Remastered being a more up-to-date and relevant title out of what is being put right in front of the consumer's eyes, it's definitely going to help out that it's now available not only as a standalone item, but also available for current hardware. Unfortunately, there still is no way to see the player count, however, which brings me to wonder if we'll ever see that feature come back, because we didn't have it in World War II, didn't have it in Modern Warfare Remastered, Infinite Warfare, Black Ops 3, and Advanced Warfare, so if we'll ever see that again, your guess is as good as mine. But from where we are now, Modern Warfare Remastered is still rather enjoyable in 2018. Of course, there are some disconnects like we've discussed, where the supply drop system is very relevant, where you have a lot more customization and it's not exactly the same exact game that people had from 2007 back imported up to when it was introduced in 2017. But the core fundamentals of the game, perks, weaponry, statistics and attributes, kill streaks, all of that is all the same and on all the classic maps that you can re-immerse yourself if you so choose to. As with all games that we take a look back retrospectively, I think it comes down to just simply a matter of perspective, and and willingness to be open to the idea of whatever that year had to offer. And while Modern Warfare Remastered offered much change compared to a straight-up remaster, not everything turned out to be as bad as people thought. And while it might not be exactly your cup of tea if you preferred the original, that's totally cool. But one thing that I will say is that going back and getting footage here for this, I had a ton of fun on the game. It was a lot of fun to play around with, and to me, I think that is the biggest part here out of this that makes the game enjoyable not only, but also makes a good Call of Duty. So that said, if you want to give it a try, definitely recommend it. Still very easy to find a game, still very fun to play around with. And if you do, of course, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. That's where we're gonna wrap it up though, so hopefully you guys enjoyed this conclusion to the In 2018 series that we've done for the past couple of months intermittently here up on the channel. Hopefully you guys enjoyed everything we've talked about thus far, and maybe as such, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below on which game you maybe thought was the best in 2018 still, or whatever it may be. Feel free to let me know your thoughts in the comments. But that said, that's where we're gonna wrap it up. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to drop a like down below. If you're also new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Call of Duty. Black Ops 4 and Blackout is right around the corner. I am incredibly stoked here for this. Hopefully you guys are as well. And if you guys want to stay up to date with anything Call of Duty, and I mean almost anything, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a single thing. If you guys also want to follow me over on Twitter and Instagram, those are the best places to get connected with me outside of YouTube. So if you guys want to check those out, those links are down there in the description below for you guys if you want to check them out. That said, thank you guys so much for watching. Mine is Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.